What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Benfica podcast. My name is Alfredo. I'm here with Mr. Steve Santos. What's going on, Stevie?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
And Cristiano Oliveira.
Hola.
And tonight we have a special guest here. We were very happy that he could join us. His name is Patrick Kendrick. You may also have heard him calling Benfica games on Benfica TV if you listen to the international feed. Patrick is a broadcast journalist based in Lisbon who also does some interpreting work in football-related conferences and pressers and whatnot. And Patrick has called 2 games so far for Benfica. Patrick, how are you?
Good evening, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Nice. We're very happy to have Patrick here. On tonight's episode number 154, we will look at the Nacional game. We'll also look ahead to the dream gig.
Dedication, I'd assume. Get the money. Hard work, dedication. Hard work, dedication.
Sorry, guys, my line's
Patrick,
a
can
bit
you hear
bad.
us?
Just about.
It's okay. So Patrick, did you hear my question? Is how do you get a dream gig like that, man?
Bit of chance, bit of persistence. It was quite, it was, hopefully you can hear me. My feed's not the best. Portuguese internet, everyone, so grappling with this already. But thankfully the football's a lot better than the internet connection. I planned on moving to Lisbon to learn Portuguese because I speak French and Italian, a sort of longer term view for interpreting work and to do some stuff with football in general. And I've been to Lisbon before, heard great things, and I moved out. I came out for 3 days in January to look around the city. And a colleague of mine actually in Australia, an Australian guy of Portuguese origins, a guy called Vitor Sobral. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yep.
He told me, I asked him if there was any English-speaking broadcasting in Portugal, and he said the only thing he knew of was Benfica TV. So I just turned up at the stadium, went to reception and asked a few questions. The next day I had a meeting up in Benfica TV and they said, come back in March when you're here and we'll see what we can do. So it was, I've never got a job like that before. Ever.
Awesome.
So it's right place, right time, I guess. And occasionally if you go knocking on a door, you can get somewhere. So far my experience has been fantastic.
Yeah, not to bring those guys down that were doing the games before, but they did a great job. But their English wasn't the best, and I'm not bringing them down. But I think that you and I didn't get a chance to hear you on the Braga game because we were in Portugal. Chris and I were in Portugal.
Sure.
But I caught the replay here in the United States. It's on Goal TV. I caught the replay. I was very
this feed is
happy with
terrible,
with the move that they've done.
Okay, great.
Yep.
No, that's I really,
and Patrick,
really enjoy.
what? Talk to us about this. What did Benfica come to you?
Excited that Patrick's on because about the only guy that has worse internet.
This is terrible.
What's the project that? I know we're on a bit of a delay. We'll edit this in post production.
Okay, good stuff.
But what did Benfica, as far as the approach and the project? What was the project that Benfica presented to you, or do you think it's just a trial thing until the end of the season?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's they definitely wanted to hear me because it's not the best time, obviously, to start a new project with only 5 or 6 home games left in the season. But I think they were keen to get me on. I mean, the first game I did, the Braga game, was the day after I got to Lisbon. and I was just told I was going to go along to shadow. And hey presto, they sort of surprised me with, oh, we've got a third microphone, so here you go. And it was sort of shoved in front of me. So that was interesting. But thankfully, I'd read that day's copy of A Bola cover to cover. I can read Portuguese, so I knew enough about the game to do a color commentator sort of role. But I mean, personally, my background is in doing play-by-play. So that's what I would like to do ideally going forward. I think that would be the best dynamic. Me doing the play-by-play and then having one of the other guys whose knowledge of Benfica is much better than mine to do the colour stuff. So, but in terms of what we've discussed so far, it's just a case of I will be part of a three-man team doing the Benfica broadcast for the home games, and I'll also be involved in their weekly show, Benfica in 60 Minutes. So I was at the Estádio da Luz today and yesterday doing some voiceover work for that, and that's interesting as well for me because I get to see the whole club. You know, they're focusing on futsal and volleyball, and especially with the big European final at the moment in the volleyball. So it's nice to see that it's, you know, this European sports club model that we don't really have in the UK. Everyone here is Benfica and they think the football, which is obviously the most dominant part of it, and the most interesting part in it, for my mind. But also quite nice to see the other clubs as well, and just how big of an institution this is in Portugal.
I think we may have lost the other two, and it's just me and you now, Patrick.
Absolutely. And
well, hopefully it's still recording. I don't know how it works, but
yeah,
I can repeat that.
You can't hear us? We're here.
We hear you now. Before
Patrick, you can't hear us?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah, we were
really quiet. We're listening.
We were listening, Steve.
But anyway,
it's really weird.
And Patrick, another thing that I wanted to... It's really weird?
Yeah.
Somebody hit us up on Twitter and let us know how this is coming out on YouTube. A few viewers on right now, but as far as I know, I mean, everything was well.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing that I was very curious about, and I know, but you're the picture, you got at least 30 sticky notes of all different colors. Talk to us about those sticky notes.
Okay, that was something I tried just last Saturday actually for the first time. Basically, I normally do my notes. I tend to handwrite my notes. A lot of commentators do theirs printed out and they do it on the computer. But I just basically, I'm learning Portuguese, so I went to the shop and I bought myself a whole load of post-it notes and different coloured things and all that sort of stuff. My idea was just to write a post-it note and stick it on everything around the house for vocab, you know, toothbrush, table, chair, all that sort of stuff. I didn't get around to doing it, and I was preparing the Nacional game, and I saw all these post-it notes and these big bits of card, and I thought, why not use them for the game? And it was quite good actually, because then you can, substitutes come on, you can stick someone over the top, and you can pull people off, and excuse me. And you can write things over the top, and yeah, it's quite nice to annotate things as you go along. It's just a bit more visual. I find I work quite well visually, but yeah, so no, it worked quite well. I think I'll be using it again. So Benfica, that was the trial run for my new post-it notes, and it was a success.
Yeah,
and it was a good result as well. So maybe it's a positive omen.
So what is your preparation like for games, to call a game? Is there a lot of research? Do you go to a lot of sites, try to learn, watch a little bit, learn the guys' names, especially on the opposition? It's easy to know the Benfica players' names if you've watched enough, but the opposition guys are really a challenge for you, I would think.
Yes and no. I mean, there are tricks that you pick up. When I worked in London, I did a lot of different leagues, and you're doing new teams every week, so you develop a few tricks. And if you can find footage beforehand, that's great. But often, when you're at the stadium, it's a lot easier than just doing it off tube. You know, doing it from a studio where we don't have as much context. But when you're at the stadium, you can obviously see that the whole pitch. So you know that the left back's got the ball, you know the right back's got the ball, and often you don't even need to see the shirt number. But little tricks like you see who's wearing different coloured boots, who's got a certain hairstyle perhaps. and I tend to use the first 10 minutes to really get a feel for who's who. I only ever call the player's name if I'm sure of who it is, and if you're a commentator, you can pick up on it. But I think generally, if you're doing a good job, fans won't notice if you're not entirely sure who has the ball. You just don't say the name, or you describe something else. I use a lot of stats at the start of play until you're exactly sure who is who, and then you can really start to just focus on the play-by-play. Obviously, if you get a goal within the first 2 minutes, you need to know who scored it. But there are a few tricks. But I'm looking forward to next season, put it that way, when I've done all the teams at least once. That will be a lot easier.
Yeah. I don't want you to give up all your secrets, but let me just run this by you. Are you prepared to possibly call a game in which Benfica will probably be crowned champion this season, God willing?
I'd love to. I mean, that's the idea. I don't think I'm on the rota to do the play-by-play on that game. I think I'll be doing the colour. But whether it's the Marítimo game or the one before that, I think it's who's before that? Penafiel, is it before the home game before that? I think I'm down for that one. So if they beat Porto in the Clásico, then maybe that might be good. But that's the one I'm looking forward to the most, I would say.
Yeah, you're on tap. You're on tap to be the main guy against Porto.
I'm not the main guy for that because that's the one that everyone wants. So being the last in, I'm sort of bottom of the food chain for the moment. But I will definitely be making myself heard during that game for sure.
Yeah, but I got to be honest with you. I mean, not that I want to put the other guys down, but you're compared to the other guys, very refreshing, to be honest with you. And for somebody that's only done 2 games, I thought you were excellent the second game. You got the guys' names right. You were really on top of things, and I just thought you were great, man.
Thank you.
And I would hope that you become the lead guy for the remaining games, to be honest with you.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm enjoying it as it is, and I can learn a lot from the other guys as well. I mean, in the past, when I first started out, I did some commentary myself in French and Italian, so it's not easy, but I think they still add a lot in terms of what they know about the club and Benfica and the context, and so it's a nice dynamic at the moment, and I'm sure the channel will get it right with that going forward, and I know they listen a lot to the feedback they get from customers and viewers and stuff. So I was talking to the director about that today. So,
Patrick, talk to us about what it's like to find yourself inside a packed Stadio de Luz to do your very first game. You sit there, you got 60,000 screaming fans going nuts all around you, and all of a sudden you're in a whole new atmosphere, a whole new language. I mean, talk to us about the whole experience.
Yeah, it's almost overwhelming. The Braga game, I think, was 60,000 there. I read that I think it was the third highest attendance, maybe the second highest attendance this season after Sporting, I think. So, yeah, I didn't expect it. I saw they were 4th in the table, and the atmosphere was absolutely incredible. I'd been told that Stadio de Luz was a lot like Emirates Stadium in terms of the setup. In terms of I think the stadium is modelled on that, or they were built around the same time, I think, anyway. So, or at least remodelled in this case. And I've spent a lot of time at Arsenal doing some interpreting work, but there is no comparison in terms of atmosphere. I mean, Arsenal, when they played at Highbury, they used to call that library, because such was the atmosphere there. And it's pretty similar at Emirates. They don't sing at all, and the Stadio de Luz was just fantastic. Just noise the whole time. They got, particularly in the first 20 minutes, they really got behind them in the Braga game, and I think it was important and incredible. I just expected to turn up and shadow the game, as I said, and then suddenly there was a third mic in front of me, and thankfully I knew a couple of the Braga players already, and thankfully I'd read the paper, as I said, because it's your first game, it's a big game, first against 4th. And you want to do a good job, but no, my colleagues were great, and the atmosphere was fantastic, and it's quite infectious. When the first goal goes in, and you hear the roar. Even before that, when the eagle flies, Victoria, and all this stuff, and I found myself on the way home singing along to myself, "SLB, SLB, SLB."
You'll be converted soon, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm worried about it. I'm going to try and stay as neutral as possible, albeit with my remit to, it is still, I think it's BTV now officially as opposed to Benfica TV. So yeah. I think they're trying to move it a little bit away from the club channel, but I might be wrong on that, so don't quote me.
Yeah. Steve, anything you want to ask Patrick?
You guys nailed a lot of the points. No, I'm good. I'm good. We'll come across something later
Yeah.
on.
Patrick, do me a favor, man. Why don't you tell everybody where well, I mean, apologize for this. I know it sounds ignorant on my part, but to be honest, what channel is he calling? Is this Gold TV or is this Benfica TV? Because I'm a little confused, and maybe some guys at home right now are a little bit confused as well.
I'll explain a little bit to you. He calls for Benfica TV, but on an international feed. So if Goal is simulcasting the game, you'll hear Patrick in the English channel. Same thing for Eurosport Australia. If they're simulcasting the game in English, you'll hear Patrick.
And how do we get those channels in the United States of America?
Well, you get Gold TV, but in Australia you got Eurosport, and then I'm sure there's other countries where they pick up the international feed from Benfica TV.
Okay. I'm definitely gonna check you out. Patrick.
Yeah.
I'm a hard dude. You know, I'm a hard grader. I'll say that. Not like
That's good. I look forward to hearing your verdict.
I'm always messing with you, bro.
Patrick, one last from me. What was the hardest thing that you've had to interpret as far as, you know, from possibly one coach to the media? Like maybe hardest, when I say hardest, maybe probably most embarrassing thing that you had to interpret?
Most embarrassing thing. I once had to interpret. This wasn't a press conference. This was like an interview as part of a coaching license program, and one guy insulted another guy, so I had to interpret the insults from one language to another. So that was quite delicate, and you're trying to find the exact insult, try and find the equivalent, not too strong, not too weak. So that wasn't fun, but afterwards you have a laugh about it and a beer, and unfortunately that's your job. You know, you'd love to just turn to the guy and say, "Whoa, what are you doing? Chill out." But instead, I went for it. So there we go.
All right, good. All right, let's get into the regular scheduled program here. Patrick, you could stay with us, man. We would love for you to stay with us and hang out, just be part of this. We're gonna get right into the Nacional game. Benfica played Nacional this past weekend. I'll give you the lineup real quick. Júlio César, Maxi, Lisandro Lopes, Jardel and Eliseu across the back, Samaris and Pizzi in the middle, Salvio and Nico Gaetano on the wings, and Jonas behind Lima. First start for Lisandro Lopes since January. Of course, I believe Luizão served his one-game suspension after accumulation of yellows.
Red card.
No, we got a red card.
Oh, we got a red card.
Red
card. Sorry.
You're right. Accumulation. You got 2 yellows.
You got 2 yellows.
Straight? Was it straight? I don't recall. I thought it was red, right? Because it was the last offender. Whatever. Who cares? You got a red card.
You got a red card, so he served this. Steve, I don't think Lisandro Lopes did that bad.
No. To be honest, I like what I saw of him. He pops up a lot in the opposing box, which is great, especially the way we like to play those long throw-ins and whatnot. Having somebody who is that much of a presence in the box is fantastic. You can tell right away that with the ball at his feet, he's a lot more comfortable than Jardel is. He can play the ball into feet to guys like Jonas checking in between lines, where Jardel just doesn't. Maybe he can pass a ball well enough, but he just doesn't have the confidence to do so. Where Licha just pins him around, which is nice. But there was a question on Twitter from Meg. Just because he played well, I don't see him as the Jardel replacement right away. I think
as your internet flares on us once again, as usual. I mean, listen, I think right from the beginning of the season, I've talked up Lilo. Obviously he had a spectacular season last year in Spain, and I thought he would have been the perfect replacement for a guy like Garay, who was a spectacular player for his last season, because I think he reminds me a lot of him. The guy knows how to play out the back with the ball on his feet. But for some reason, Jorge Jesus is in love with Jardel. He loves what Jardel brings. He knows that he could count on this guy. He's had him on the team now for a couple of seasons, and I think that's the only reason why he so far has won the race over Lilo to get the starting position alongside Luizão. And say what you want, the guy is just a bruto. He gets rid of the ball. That's most important. I think the one thing with Jardel is it's defend first, and attack second. And I think that's what he brings to the table. Sometimes he looks clumsy. We talk about it here all the time. Every time he has the ball on his feet in the back, I'm on the edge of my seat and I'm nervous. I'm biting my nails. But you know what? The guy's been spectacular this season, scored a couple big goals. And most importantly, man, Benfica's defense has been able to keep the ball out the back of the net.
The biggest thing with Jardel, and we've said this time and time again, is the fact that he's very familiar with JJ's system. And I think that JJ has a lot of trust in him to know exactly where he needs to be. And, of course, with no European competitions to play against tougher opposition, I think that Jardel will do. And I think that's where we're at. But Lilu, I see Lilu as a good
I think Lilo's going to have he's going to have an important role to play on this team next season. I say this over and over again. I know some of you guys at home get upset with me, but I don't think Luizan will be back next year. The guy's 33 years old. He'll soon be 34. He's going to look for that last payday. And we see that a lot with these players that come to Portugal and they stick around for Portugal for a handful of years. And then when they get to this age, they want to go out and get that payday. And I think that's exactly what Luizan is going to do. I know, guys, it hurts and it sucks because this guy's been on this team for 13 years now and he's been an important cog on this club. But the guy needs to get paid, and I think he's just part of the business. And so that's where I think a guy like Lilo will come and play a huge part in next season.
Yeah, and I think at this moment, I think that Benfica has adequate substitutes for Luizão, to be honest with you. We have Cesar, we have Lisandro Lopes, and if JJ decides to let Luizão go, and of course nobody's going to stop the guy to get one last payday, I think that we have adequate backup. What do you think, Steve?
With Lisandro, definitely. Cesar's got potential. He looks like quite the athlete, but I really like Lisandro.
Yeah, absolutely. Another Patrick. What is? I know you get to see the game from a different perspective than all of us that watch it on TV, and we've praised this man quite a bit here. Talk to us about Jonas and how you see it in his movement off the ball. I mean, it's quite an amazing thing to see when you got a bird's eye view from the box.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's something you probably see a bit more when you're doing the colour because you're less focused on where actually ball is. You can start to look at who's making which runs a bit better. That's where the analyst role comes in a bit. But certainly, even against Nacional, I mean, his movement's fantastic. He makes it look so simple on that first goal with the cutback from Salvio. The way he just dropped in for that finish made it look so simple. But that's all about timing. And I thought his movement was fantastic, coming short for the ball. His first touch was good, bringing other players in, little balls around the corner, and then getting it back into the box. His movement was absolutely fantastic. It's not just his second goal was a beauty, but his all-round performance on Saturday was brilliant. Not just him, but Salvio and Gaetan as well. But I was really impressed with Jonas. It's the first time I'd really seen him play. This is the last two games. I have to say, it wasn't a player I was familiar with, having covered Italian football before, so I didn't really see much of Spanish football, but I read on Twitter the other day that only Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, and Harry Kane have scored more in 2015 than him. So fantastic.
Yeah,
it's funny that you can't measure a player like him by the goals he scores because he offers so much to the team itself. But his goal scoring record is phenomenal. I find it amazing the way it seems where he slows down the game to his pace so that everyone else can catch up to him, and then he releases the ball. The way he just sucks in the opposition and then releases the ball to a teammate in a better position is fantastic. I think I've noticed that he reminds me a lot of Totti. The more and more I watch him, he reminds me a lot of Totti, of just the way he has that presence about him on the pitch. But I'm not sure if we've lost them again.
No, here.
Oh, okay.
Who are we talking? Are we talking about Jonas?
Yeah. Yes.
The guy's a spectacular player.
You've been saying
I mean, I told you. Hey, listen, I was shocked when he became a free agent, obviously. Well, not shocked because I knew he was a freaking knucklehead over there at Valencia, so I wasn't extremely shocked about that. But once I heard that there was a possible interest of Benfica and Jonas, man, I started counting my lucky stars, and I started promising that, I wouldn't drink anymore, I wouldn't go out, I'd be home early, you know what I mean? I cut my toenails and all that good stuff. But you know what? As it got closer, I said, oh, my God, is this really going to happen? And a lot of times, when things that I really hope for and I wish for, as I start to pay a little bit more attention to it and I wish for a little bit more, it never happens. It's just like I'm a jinx. So I stopped thinking about it. I said, I'm not thinking about this because I'm a jinx this. And so I try not to pay attention to it, even though every night I go to the ball like with one eye open, one eye closed, and like, is this guy going to sign? But the dude's a tremendous player, man. I mean, anybody that's seen this guy at Valencia over the last 3 years, you could tell that he's an exceptional player. And in particular, knowing the type of player he is, coming to the Portuguese style of soccer, I thought the guy would be phenomenal. And so far, I mean, thank you, Jonas. You're making me look good. Benfica podcast, and hopefully keep scoring goals, man. You bring us back to the Marquês. Because I know this guy to my left over here, he definitely wants to go back there, and I would like nothing more to go and hang out over there and have a couple beers with Patrick, and and BS, and we could I could translate some things for him, hopefully not too embarrassing, and he could help me out on the other hand. So I mean, that'd be spectacular, man.
So wait, did you start growing your nails or not? Did you stop growing them?
I just threw it in there. Whatever, my nails are good, nice and shiny. I paint them. I do like Ronaldo. I paint them.
Yeah. So quite a convincing win by Benfica, 3-1, after being off 1 week and after the game against Rio Ave, where it was disappointing the way they came out of that game. To respond, especially after a week off, it was quite a response, and I think it's something that the fans were looking for. And obviously, what they've done at home for the past couple years, it's been very impressive. Now we go into the Académica game. But I was very impressed with the performance from the team overall, Steve.
Yeah, the movement from the front four was just fantastic. I mean, JJ goes on and on about them playing with their eyes closed and how they know each other's movements and whatnot. But it's really truth. I mean, the way they played the last game was just fantastic. The off the ball movement was great. The one thing that you watch the game and you'll notice, Lima may not have the technical ability or maybe even the thought processes that the other three guys have. Maybe Salvio might be pushing it a little bit. I think Salvio gets away with a bit because of the athlete that he is. But what Lima lacks in technical ability and maybe that football sense, he makes up for in work rate. I mean, the running that this guy does off the ball, basically to give the team that little bit of what's the word I'm looking for, depth or verticality, so that Jonas has that extra bit of space to work in, so that Gaetan can come into the middle as well. That is so important to the way we play that you have to give the guy credit for it. You can't only go to the guy and say, you know what, you're the one who killed this play because your touch wasn't good. You're the one who killed that play because you didn't see Gaetan or whatnot. Because without him, you wouldn't always see the good stuff that we play as well. Lima's got, as much as sometimes it looks like he can't hit the side of a barn, he's got a lot to do with how well we play.
You know what, Steve? The one thing you mentioned, with those four guys, they're all four of them were interchangeable. That being said, he opens up a lot of space with his runs and stuff, with his movement. He opens up a lot of space for Gaetan to cut into the middle, like you mentioned. And that's the one thing, even when he's struggling at the middle of the season scoring goals, I think all three of us up here said numerous times that at least he's putting in the work rate. And I know I was a little bit more critical of him because, in my mind, the striker, his job is to score goals. It's not to put in a work rate. You know what I'm saying? But, the guy's done his job, and I'm still really ticked off at him that he missed that penalty against Paços Ferreira. I'm never going to let that game live. I'm never going to let that game die down. You guys know that.
Well, he missed a sitter against Rio Ave, too. That would have taken away as well.
Was it Rio?
Yeah, no, Rio Ave, the header.
Was that Rio Ave? I thought that was a Roca.
Yeah,
was that Rio Ave? Yeah, a couple weeks ago, where he was by himself, and even Jorge Jesus, the hair going wild and stuff. He's ready to run down the sideline and celebrate, and this guy headers that wide. So he can still obviously improve, but he's 30, 31, whatever he is. Obviously, there's not much room for improvement there, but spectacular season nonetheless.
Yeah. So 48,572 at the Luge. Patrick, you were there. What's the atmosphere like? Especially after a convincing win like that. I'm sure everybody's leaving happy, but what's your feel as far as the atmosphere goes?
I think it was the first 20 minutes were a little bit tough. I think everyone was anxious for Benfica to get the early goal, and it didn't come until I think the 21st minute. So the fans maybe just started to get a little bit restless, but I think Benfica just about scored at the right time. otherwise, and especially with the second goal coming so soon afterwards, 9 minutes after that, I think that helped to. Once the second goal went in, everyone knew that Benfica were going to win, and then the fans can really start to enjoy it. I know that Jorge Jesus has been mentioning the fans a lot in his press conferences recently. I don't know whether that's deliberate and that's one of his ploys, or whether it's to try and get them really fired up for the coming games. But I was reading the paper on Sunday. I mean, the home record that Benfica has is just absolutely fantastic. Is it 91 now in the league without defeat or something? No, 91.
91
scored in a row.
Yeah,
that's right. So I think the only thing I'm slightly concerned about, having spoken to people around the club, particularly at BTV, and hearing some of the fans talk up in. I've been to Terceiro Anel a few times to eat up in the restaurant. Just outside
the division.
Yeah, it's quite a good place to sort of gauge the mood. And I watched the Rio Ave game up there actually. And, even when they were winning 1-0, one of the members said it was the worst performance of the season. So I thought that was quite telling when they scored, when they ended up losing the game. But I'm just slightly concerned about well, maybe you guys will get onto this. I've gone off on a tangent slightly, but just the mindset ahead of the Porto game, I'm just slightly concerned about that. I feel like Benfica should be looking at that as a way to almost secure the championship, looking at it as how can we win the game to go 6 clear. But a lot of the talk has been about how can we not lose 2-0 so that we keep the head-to-head record. So I don't know if there's more in that, but in terms of the atmosphere at the Nacional game, 48,000. I think they're expecting more than 60,000 for the Académica game on Saturday, so that'll be great.
To answer that question, Patrick, I mean, one thing I've been very critical of Jorge Jesus about, and it's about the only thing, is that when he comes into these games that Benfica, like must-win games, seems like he always comes to play for a draw, man. And that's the one thing that's always upset me about this guy. He did it this year at Alvalade against Sporting. Benfica, all they realistically needed was a draw, which they did get in the 94th minute, but it was arguably Benfica's worst performance of the season. We saw it 2 seasons ago, when Benfica needed a draw to clinch the title, and they go on to the Dragão and they lose in the 92nd minute, a goal from Kelvin 2-1, I believe was the score. When obviously, a draw would have given Benfica the ultimate goal, which would have been the title, but it didn't work out. So you could say, you know what, if they would have held out another minute, Jesus would have been a hero, but it didn't. And so those are some of the concerns I have about Jesus coming into this game against Porto. Obviously, you have 2 very important games. Academic, I think Benfica will slap them around and win this game pretty easily. But the Belenenses game, another team from Lisbon, I think that'll be a little bit more complicated than some people might think originally. But I'm just scared that he comes into this game with a 3-point lead, and that to him, he knows that as long as they don't lose 2-0, that they're still in the driver's seat. So I fear that, man. That's one thing that I lose sleep over.
Yeah, I think over the years and over the JJ's reign, we've seen 2 JJs. We've seen a JJ that came into Benfica that was guns blazing, full on everything, no regards for defensive balance and defensive transitions. Then we started seeing JJ losing games because of being overly aggressive. Then he learned from that, started taking other approaches. And now in the past seasons, we've seen him being a little bit more cautious. And I think a lot that has to do with this season, his approach to his games and being more cautious in these games, also has to do with a lot of the limitations that he knows the squad has. The squad is obviously not as deep as last year's. So there's a little bit of thought that's being put into this. You rather not lose than give away the game, really.
Yeah, I think that's feeding into the fans as well. I think what you're seeing, Patrick, is I would say that the majority of fans would agree that Porto have a better squad than us in terms of player quality. So being that what it is, everyone has it in the back of their mind that we the most important thing is not to lose against them because they probably do have a better side. But I think JJ is probably the factor that equals it out onto our side, and I don't think we're going to go for just the tie versus Porto or even not to lose 2-0. We'll see what happens, but I don't think so.
Steve, would you do? I mean, this is a question for all 3 of you guys. Would you guys disagree with me if I were to tell you that Porto is in Benfica's mind? I mean, due to the fact that they beat us, at home in the 92nd minute, and even right now, Benfica's been ahead of them pretty much for the whole season. And every time I speak to a Portista, the first thing they tell me, it's all right. We'll go back into your stadium and we'll beat you guys, just like they did the one famous game that Benfica turned off the lights and turned on the sprinkler system.
It doesn't matter. We've already beat them once.
But I'm asking. What I'm asking is, do you think
I agree with Chris. I agree with you. That is 30 years of Porto basically dominating the Portuguese league, and us basically at times being there. You know what? And that stays in the mind of the fans. That stays in the mind of the players. I do believe that. I absolutely agree with you that is in the back of their mind, and they do not want to get burnt by it. But I hope that instead of being scared by it, you use it as your fire to beat Porto at this point, instead of being scared and being timid about it.
We have a couple. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, no, just one final thing on that. Just bringing it from a slightly different perspective. It reminds me a lot of a situation you have in the Premier League 3 seasons ago when Manchester City won the title on the last day. It was slightly different because it was goal difference, but they made up 8 points on Manchester United. And the two teams played a few weeks before the end of the season. And you could tell that Man United really went into the game knowing that if they avoided defeat, they would retain their lead at the top. Whereas Man City just knew they had to win the game. And I think Porto will go to the Luz knowing that as well, knowing that they can end this home run, unbeaten all season in the league, and that if they win the game, so it is a difficult situation. In some ways, it's Benfica need to try to win that game and look at it as let's go 6 clear with 3 games to go, with 4 games to go after that.
I think that's definitely the approach.
Hey, Patrick, what team in England does Benfica remind you of? Is there a team that you could compare Benfica to over there in England?
I mean, given my age, and I'm 28, so I grew up and Man United just dominated English football. So I think there is a similarity with United, not perhaps with the sort of European prestige. There's a touch of Liverpool about it, but I don't know. There's not an exact fit, but I would think in terms of the standing within the country, it's sort of a Man United or a Liverpool, which again fits well with the colours. But I'd love to say Southampton, my team, but sadly I can't.
Hey, they're doing great. They're doing great. Hey, Patrick, it's funny that you bring up your name because we have a couple Twitter questions for you, and one of them is, are you single? The ladies that listen to the Benfica podcast are very interested. They'd like to know if you're single.
I'm seeing someone at the
serious
moment.
Questions on Twitter.
I'm seeing someone at the moment. I'm seeing a nice girl from Naples, so it's a no, I'm afraid.
Oh, parla italiano. All right, so all you ladies listen to the Benfica podcast. Hey, you never know. Things might break off with him and his Italiana. So, stay tuned. Check him out on Twitter.
I think
Might get lucky.
I think that the approach is definitely to go for a win and not to hold that lead of 3 points and whatever goals with the tying. I think that's the whole approach. All right, let's get into Nelson's segment.
Oh, we got to do that whole thing. All right, so we got Patrick. We're gonna play a little segment right now. One of our great friends does a little 2-minute segment here on the Benfica podcast, and we play it. So if you hear some silence for the next couple of minutes, in case you can't hear it, it's because we're playing this little segment. Okay.
Sure.
And now, the halftime headlines.
Há 7 finais e vou juntar outra vez nestas 7 finais a qualidade da equipa do Benfica que jogou hoje e temos de ser todos juntos. Temos de ser como fomos até aqui.
Jonas put away 2 goals this weekend against Nacional. The Brazilian now has 12 league goals and 22 overall in 27 games. Statistically speaking, it's the best goals per game average that he's ever had in his professional career. 0.81 goals per game is even besting league goal scorer Jackson Martinez, who has an average of 0.76 goals per game. With hard work and dedication, Freddie Montero and Islam Slimani have managed to equal Jonas's goal tally all season. Good work, boys. Nas modalidades, Benfica's futsal team defeated Fátima 7-3 to advance to the Taça de Portugal semifinals against Sporting. The single-leg game will be played on May 2nd, with the winner playing the final against the winner of the Módicas Stadium and Fundão game. Anderson Talisca, the young Brazilian that started the season red hot, has recently cooled off. The goals have dried up, and now he's picked up an injury to his right hand. After only playing about 10 minutes, the former Bahia man fell awkwardly and dislocated the ring finger on his right hand. Good luck to him, and hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. And that's all for this week.
There you go. Thanks a lot, Nelson, for that. And also the volleyball team. They were in Serbia today, and they lost 3-1 in sets just on the first half. Now they got to come to the Stade de Luge, and this is the European final, if I'm not mistaken. So keep an eye out on that. Let's get into the Nacional, not the Nacional, the Académica game. Benfica plays the Académica this Saturday. Académica is currently 14th. Total record is 4 wins, 8 losses, and 15 ties. Away, there are 3 wins, 6 losses, and 4 ties. Away, have only scored 7 goals away. That's the 3rd worst in the league. Goals allowed away, they're the 5th best in the league. They're only bested by Porto Braga, Sporting, and Benfica. Last 10 matches at the Luge, 7 wins for Benfica, 3 wins for Académica. So quite an important game here, Steve, for Benfica. Again, another final, like all the games are going to be now until the end of the season. And what can we expect from this game, Steve?
Well, based on their away defensive record, you're going to have to expect that they're really going to park the bus and try to frustrate us. Not too different than most teams that come to play at Stade de Luge. I actually found Nacional a little bit open compared to most teams that come to the Luge, but I don't think Académica will be that naive. It'll be 2 flat banks of 4 and being very difficult to get through them. The one thing I know we talk about cliches, and sometimes people say every game's a final and whatnot, and sometimes Neil likes to ask me, what do you think? Do you think this is going to happen? And I have to look at a crystal ball and try to figure it out. Here's what I'm going to say. If we win the next 3 matches, there's no way that we're not going to be champions. So this is a game to win. There's just, you have to approach this in that mindset. It's got to be a win. Of all the games left, though, this was a game that I thought we probably could have been okay to let Jonas sit. So I don't understand. I didn't really understand why JJ took off Jonas, saying that he was protecting him from a 5th yellow card. I mean, if anything, I would have been discreetly telling Jonas to get a yellow card in this match or in the last match to miss the Académica game. On paper, if you look at all the matches left, I believe this is probably the easiest looking match, Académica at home. And I always struggle to see what JJ sees when he's doing his management of yellow cards and deciding to leave players on the pitch or take them off. And I never really tend to agree with what he does. And I just didn't really get what he was doing in this match either. I thought Jonas was a good idea to get a 2nd yellow there, or sorry, a 5th yellow there.
Yeah. Patrick, I don't know if you've started doing your research yet for this game, but what are your feelings about this game, and what are some of the things you've picked up from doing some of the research?
Yeah, I haven't had too much of a look thus far, but I pretty much agree with what Steve's saying. A team that has conceded so few on the road, then obviously they're gonna come and try and really shut the game down and try and play on the fact that the fans may get a bit restless if the goal doesn't come soon. I haven't seen it so far because Benfica scored before half-time against both Braga and against Nacional, but I could envisage that if the scoreline were 0-0 at half-time, then you might start to hear a bit of restlessness from the fans. So I imagine if an away coach would come into Stade de Luge trying to get a result, it would be to keep it at 0-0 as long as possible, and because they're not going to score more than 1 goal. Académica, their only chance of winning the game is to try and nick it by a single goal. 3 players have scored against Benfica at Stade de Luge in the league this season, and we saw the goal with Thiago Rodrigues the other day. You need an absolute beauty to beat Julio César because you're not going to get in the box and you're not going to get a 1-on-1. So I think they'll try and frustrate them. They would really try and keep it tight, and I completely agree that Nacional were a bit open. I think they made it a bit too easy for Benfica.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that's impressive is that they've been able to pull away 15 draws.
15
That's
draws.
15 draws, 4 victories in 15 draws. So they're going to come in, park the bus like every other team does that started to lose. And hopefully Benfica get an early one. All of a sudden, you got to spread them out. They got to come out and attack to make it an entertaining game.
Yeah.
And Benfica, I think Benfica's going to slap them around. I think it's going to be a pretty easy game. I mean, hopefully I don't jinx them, but I think that's what happened. Steve, bring up a great point as far as Jonas. You can't have him play against Belenenses, pick up a yellow, and then obviously that 5th yellow, cause him to miss the game against Porto. So
maybe he picks up the yellow against
maybe.
Against Academic.
Yeah, I mean, I would think he has to. I mean,
but as Steve said, this was probably a much easier game than against Belenenses.
Absolutely.
So it would make more sense. But I have also heard that JJ, as the kind of the motto this year, win first, then manage the squad. So that's always been he's managed the team so far like there's no tomorrow. Every game it seems that there's an approach to like there's no tomorrow. There's no savings. There's no managing guys. And I don't know if you've noticed that, Steve, but that's something that I've noticed from JJ this year.
Well, it's funny. He mentioned in the press conference if the result against Nacional was still in favor, Jonas would have stayed on the pitch until he fell over. So he's definitely always man managing and squad managing. So I agree with you on that sense for sure.
Yeah, but nevertheless, I think like as Patrick said that Nacional Académica will come in and try to play with the team's anxiety, especially if they don't get an early goal. I think if they get an early goal, I think that Benfica will do whatever they want with Académica, like Cristiano has said. But the key is going to be in that early goal and managing some of the anxiety that may take over the team if they don't get that early goal. I haven't checked to see if Porto plays first or not.
I mean, Steve, the ideal thing here would be Jonas scores a couple goals in the first half, picks up a yellow right before the end of the first half. They sub him off at halftime, bring in Jonathan Rodriguez, Ubebadu, and let the dude do his thing and get his first minutes here. Because he looks like he's an absolute killer down on the B team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you'll see him on the roster for the first time against Académica. Looks like Talisca isn't going to make it with his broken finger. Which will leave a spot open for a second striker or a striker of some sorts.
Mukhtar. What about Mukhtar, a guy that's made the 19, hasn't been able to crack the 18 though? Another guy.
I don't think it'll. I'm pretty sure it'll be Jonathan.
No, I'm just mentioning.
I'm
not disagreeing. I'm just throwing names. Out there.
There's also Suleimani as well. So.
Yeah, but I think that Jonathan Rodriguez is the biggest candidate to make the list instead of Talisca for sure.
Also, there's talk of 3 guys fighting for Eliseu's spot since he's suspended. There's no 3 guys. That spot's under Almeida. Silvio doesn't have the game rhythm. He's barely played. Benito is just not as good as Almeida is and doesn't understand the system as well as Almeida does. So that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. But Steve, like you mentioned, due to the fact that this will be an easy game, I mean, you could throw Silvio out there and give this guy some rotation and try to see if you can knock some of the rust off. Because Academica's not going to really attack the ball. They're not going to have the ball much. So, I mean, this could be one of those games where you can see Benfica maybe give a couple of those guys a run.
But that's disrespecting a player who's given a lot to you over the past 2-3 seasons, which is Andre Almeida. I wouldn't do it personally.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the choice has to be with Andre Almeida, especially because he's been such a loyal servant and a guy that could pretty much play at any place that JJ has asked him. He played against Sporting in the middle, and has played on the left side quite a little bit. Well, I don't know if he was a failed experiment against Sporting. I think that he achieved.
I'm not blaming
what he
him.
wanted to
I'm not blaming him. I just don't think it was. That was, I think, their worst game of the season. That's why.
How could you say it's a failed experiment when he got exactly what he wanted? He wanted a tie. He got the tie.
That's what I just finished saying.
I guess, Steve. I mean, people get satisfied with very little. I mean, the 94th minute goal. Yes, it gave me the ultimate point. I mean, which but still, the game. This surprised me coming from a guy that when Benfica was winning at the beginning of the season, you kept complaining because they were playing like crap, and now you're satisfied with that draw, Steve.
I didn't say I was satisfied. I'm asking. The coach has an objective in his mind. His objective was not to lose, to get a draw. He
got lucky.
He did, but he set out the team to achieve that objective, and he got it. So you can't really fault him for it in that sense. You could fault him, like we've said before, lacking ambition. You got to go to the Alvalade and want to beat your bitter rival. I could see that, but if his intention was to tie the game or not to lose, he obviously got what he wanted, whether it was by luck or whether it worked until the 80th minute and they scored by luck as well. So it's
Well, as long as
you
they
can
had
look at it on
Almeida
either
on the
side of the
field,
coin.
as long as they had Andre Almeida on the field, it was terrible. Terrible display from the whole team. I'll say that. How's that? Can you give me that at least?
Attacking, yes, I'll give you that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
We always find a way to agree some way, somehow.
Yeah. We got a question here for Patrick. Just bear with me. Patrick, can you get me an internship in BTV, pretty please? That comes from underscore Gomez 89. João Gomes.
I'm just getting my feet under the table myself there at the moment. Maybe next season. Come back next season and ask me the same question.
Hey, that's better than a no.
Patrick, since I didn't have a question for you before, but I thought of one now. Have you rubbed shoulders with anybody that we would know as loyal Benfica supporters here?
Not as yet. I can't say I have, but I'm keeping a close eye on who they're using as the color commentator for the Benfica games. I don't know if it's a set guy in Portuguese or
Nuno Matos.
Portuguese is
No, it's not.
in Portuguese it's normally Calado.
Okay.
No, not Patrick. I think Patrick is talking about the other two guys that are in the booth with him, right, Patrick?
No, he said in Portuguese.
Yeah, because I know they use some ex-players, but maybe that's on the Premier League coverage that BTV has.
Well, Patrick, the good news is that next time somebody asks you if you've rubbed shoulders with some big-time Benfiquistas, now you can mention the three of us.
All three.
You know what I'm saying? There it is. There it is.
Absolutely.
Let's see if we could come up here with some more questions. We have some vague questions from people, and one of them is, I think this is the year we have a lot of experience. The players won't get nervous against Porto. They're focused on Académica now, and then I guess Belenenses next. I agree with that.
That's not a question. That's a comment.
That's a comment. Well, here's
Question is,
if JJ leaves at the end of the season, who's our next coach? I think that's a little bit too early.
Sergio Conceição.
Come on, get that.
I'm telling you. I saw that love fest. Did you, Patrick, did you get a chance to go down to the press conference room after the Braga game?
I didn't know. But they were.
Okay, well, I was there. I was sitting.
For Sergio Conceição,
it was a love fest.
Yeah.
A love fest between both guys. And this is a player that played under Jorge Jesus at Braga. This is a player that when he was managing Académica, they were like in last place with like no goals, no draws, no points, and he's still talking them up that this is a very well-oriented team. And now, even that day after the Braga, after Benfica, and Patrick, you were there, Benfica, in my opinion, it totally annihilated freaking Braga. Braga did nothing for the majority of the game. And even after that, they're both very complimentary of one another. This is a guy that every chance he's had to go at Benfica throughout his whole career. I'm talking about since he was 19 years old. He's had a chance and he's gone and digged at Benfica. All of a sudden, this was a love fest. Oh my God, what's going on here? Yeah. Everybody was looking at one another like, is this the real Sergio Conceição? It just seems to me that they were buttering everybody up, and I'm afraid, man. I'm afraid that that's the guy that's being lined up to be the next Benfica coach.
To be honest with you, I'd rather see Paulo Fonseca ahead of him at Benfica.
Same here.
Than Sergio here. No. I don't think that Sergio Conceição is very limited when it comes to coaching. He might be a good motivator, manager, but as far as tactics go, very below what Paulo Fonseca can do, below what Rui Vitória can do. So on and so forth. I mean, there might even be other guys in the league that tactically are much better than him.
This one legendary Brit that loves to manage legendary teams, and he's available. Sir Alex Ferguson. You know what I mean?
Sir Alex Ferguson is home in a farm taking care of his horses.
Hey, he wants to manage legendary clubs. There it is.
Drinking scotch.
He's the man to break the curse.
Oh, and he loves Portuguese wine. He says that Mourinho gives him great wine. So, hey, look, Louis van Gaal said once he retires in 2 years, what's he going to do? Come to Portugal and drink wine. Hey, maybe Sir Alex Ferguson beats him to the punch.
I think Patrick might be onto something already.
I'm drinking wine?
No, coming to Portugal. Coming to Portugal instead of those guys waiting until the end of their career coming to Portugal. One last thing, Steve.
Portugal guys.
That's right. So Patrick, Portugal is going to be your home base now?
For the moment, yeah. I'm gonna try and be here until the end of next season. I'd like to do a full season with Benfica, and just see how I get on. My Portuguese is getting there little by little. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I have enough work that I can do remotely elsewhere because the BTV thing is not a full-time gig. But I can't complain so far. Weather's great, food's great, people are great. Cost of living is very cheap. I mean, you have to say it really. So I'm really enjoying Lisbon so far.
Patrick, feel free to reach out for some Portuguese lessons in return for an internship next year. I'll carry them little stickies, and I'll stick them on your notepad, whatever you want, and I'll help you out with the Portuguese. Some of it might be good, some of it might be bad, but I'll be there for you, buddy.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Deal. You're on.
All right, just lastly, before we move on, Benfica announced today that they renewed with Gonçalo Guedes. Rescission clause, 60 million, Steve. I didn't. What did they sign him until?
2021.
2021.
Yeah, there's no way in hell he sees 2021 in a Benfica shirt.
No, nor will we. I don't think we'll see 60 million for him either, to be absolutely honest. But he did sign with Jorge Mendes.
Is that official? Is that official? Because I heard that there was rumors.
No,
okay.
He dropped his former agent that I forgot to write down his name, and right now I don't remember.
He wants 1.6 million in return as compensation.
Exactly.
But I didn't see anywhere. I looked all that up today because I saw on Twitter that he had signed with Mendes. I looked it up, Steve, and I didn't get any confirmation on that.
We'll look it up after, but I'm pretty sure he signed up with Jesse Foot. We'll look it up after.
Peggy, get on it.
No, he signed up.
Peggy on the spot. Get on it.
He signed up with someone definitely. Other than the guy that he was with, because the guy he was with was asking for some money in return because of breach of contract or something. So I'm pretty sure he signed up with Jorge Mendes. Who else could he have signed with?
Yeah, that's a bad thing, though. I mean, anyone that signs with Jorge Mendes in Portugal, you know that they're on their way out. I mean, look at Thiago Gomes. They're all on their way out.
Yeah, absolutely.
First chance they get, because the guy looks, as an agent, that's what you want as an agent. Patrick, am I correct? You want the guy to go out and get you the best deal for your buck, and that's what he does.
You want to move the guys as often as possible. I mean, look at Mino Raiola and Ibra.
He's awesome.
Never stayed anywhere more than 2-3 years,
Absolutely.
So he'll be leaving PSG this summer, put it that way.
For sure.
And I think he's talking up Paul Pogba now too. He's talking him up big time.
There you go, Benfica. How about Zlatan? How about that?
So
can you imagine the trouble that guy would cause?
Patrick, we'd have to give him that red bridge that you're looking at out the window right now. We'd have to give him that compensation.
Absolutely. And a statue of him like Cristo Rey.
Yeah.
A statue of Zlatan.
Just make up the Cristo Rey to look like him. Just a couple hammers, couple chisels to the face.
Photoshop.
Change the nose. Make it an iconic nose like Zlatan's. There you go.
I think he scored a hat-trick today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe
he
so.
did. He had a good game, from what I hear.
Yeah.
Meg says if Sergio Conceição becomes a Benfica manager, I'll buy a ticket for 10 CO10 to attend.
That's what's up. Hey, Patrick, I'll see you next year, Patrick. I'll see you in August, buddy. I'll be over there.
All right. I think that's all I got. We wanted to thank Patrick immensely for coming on and bearing with us. Steve, go ahead.
One more bit of news. We signed Marçal. Nacional's left back.
We did. Is that confirmed?
Is that official also, Steve?
For 5 years.
That's the Jogo. The Jogo's the only one reporting that.
Zero has it on as well. Ebola, I believe I saw it as well. I'm pretty sure that it's official. The moment he didn't play, when I didn't see him in the starting 11 versus us on the weekend, I was like, he's their best left back by far. What's going on? And
he was hurt.
And he was not hurt. He played versus Sporting today like nothing happened.
So better,
the upside of this is that he's an obvious upgrade to Eliseu. I mean, for one thing, he's fit. Where Eliseu, let's be nice, and we have certain names for him. And
Pop sick.
Exactly. It's not about his fitness. So I like Marçal. I think he's a good buy. I don't know if we'll buy better in the summer, but I doubt it. Here's the question, Steve. Here's the question for you, because you know all these dudes from these smaller clubs. Is he an upgrade over the dude that Benfica signed last year from Academica?
Javan?
And the guy was at Benfica for like 48 hours.
Yes.
I don't, you know what I mean? Like, is he better than him?
He's better than Javan.
Or is this? I mean,
he's one of the best left backs in the league.
I'm sorry. What I should say. I mean, I guess I should re-ask this question, Steve. The question is this dude being brought over to Benfica to become a part of the first team next year, or is it another one of these BS scenarios where we see Benfica just cock blocking and keeping them away from Sporting?
hard to say for sure because it depends who we get. Based on who we have right now, I think he's better than Benito, and I think he's better than Eliseu.
There you go. The
I'll-
chalkboard has spoken.
He's one of the
Man,
better
I
left backs
can't-
in the league, man. That's what it comes
What
down
happened
to.
to my boy Pop Pickle, man?
He's gonna go maybe.
He's gonna go to Valencia or something. I gotta watch Valencia.
He's gonna be at the Catedral de Cerveja eating Pop Six in February.
Him and Kennedy, they'll be together.
Yeah. Anyway, let's wrap this up. Patrick, again, man, wonderful having you, man. And I know that you're up late. I also know that you're keeping it quiet because you got people there with you. Please follow Patrick on Twitter at Patrick Endrick. It's P-A-T-R.
Kendrick.
No. He only uses 1K, right?
No, he's got.
No, only uses 1K.
I know. It's
Oh, you
weird.
messed me up.
See what I did there?
KKK.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. It's very clever, Patrick. Patrick. So Patrick.
Patrick, listen, I do this every podcast. I tell all our beautiful listeners to shorten their Twitter handle. Man, can't get a dummy like myself to find you on Twitter when I'm expecting double K's, Patrick. What is this?
You're right. You got it. That's why my follow count's so low. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Let's get Patrick to 1,000 stat.
Guys,
Let's do it.
Guys, I'm following them right now. If you're listening, or if you get to listen to this tomorrow or the day after, you better do the same. Follow the dude. Very
Nice
good.
one. Thanks,
Very
guys.
good
Thanks for having me on. I
Benfica.
appreciate it. And I'll be listening every week. Don't you worry. You guys do half my research right here.
Sorry to hear, bro.
This show is half my research.
There you go. Patrick is at 586 right now. Criminally underfollowed. Everybody get on that. And for those of you that are in countries where you could listen to Patrick, or you know that the Benfica simulcast is coming on in the English language, hit up Patrick and let him know where it's going to be on, what channel it's going to be on, because I know he's pretty curious to see where else he's being heard around the world. So definitely do that for Patrick. Follow Patrick. Also, PatrickKendrick.com is where you can find his website and all his information, his background and whatnot. And I think that's about it. At SteveCento6, at 10CO10, at Benfica Podcast is Steve, Chris, and I, in that order. BenficaPodcast.com and planetbenfica.co.uk.
Manelli's wrong.
What else? That's about it.
Patrick, I know you're jealous of my little sign right now, right?
I can't make out what it says. What does it
Exactly.
Oh, really? Come on.
We can't read it.
It's just 10 CO. Oh, man.
Voila.
Whatever. It's
Put
all
it
good.
on.
Don't worry about it. It's all good. Don't worry about it. What is this? Yo. What, you get a close-up? What is that?
It's
Jeez,
not
that's scary.
That's where you got it.
Bye.
Anyway, Patrick, thank you, man. And we would like to have you back one of these days
Absolutely.
again, man. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope we weren't too goofy.
I'll have him on every Tuesday night when I intern with him, bro. Don't worry about it.
We'll do a show live from Marrakesh. How about that in a few
That would be
weeks'
amazing.
We're working on that.
There we go.
Hopefully we could get that done. Thanks everybody for checking us out. People on YouTube, apologize for having those technical difficulties in the beginning. I think that wasn't Patrick. I think that was Chris and I. So we apologize for that. We're going to try to clean up the audio so everybody can check it out and listen to this. And for those of you checking us out on YouTube, thanks a lot for your support as always. iTunes, Stitcher Radio, RSS feed is where you can find us. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you again next week.